Welcome to episode 36 of The Leap Home, The Boogieman.
In this week's episode, Sam must work out who he has come to save, as a series of deaths indicate his partner may be killer and not victim. With Al and Ziggy offering less help than usual, Sam tries to put the pieces together. But can he solve the case and identify the true villain? Or is he destined to end up as dead as everyone else?
An eel of smoke slowly slithered through the sockets of the moldy skull. An evil from the beginning of time.
Good evening, Iain. How are things?
Not too bad, how are you doing?
Like an evil from the beginning of time.
I like the alliteration in that piece.
Did you?
It was very second-rate. Horror novelist.
Talking of second rate, what did you think of this episode?
Well, we've already both made the same crucial mistake. I did it last week and you've done it already this week.
What's that?
Named this episode in full. Apparently, amongst fans of the show, they call it the Halloween episode because if you use the full name, it leads to issues. And we've already had some technical problems this evening.
We have, that's right, yeah.
That's spooky.
Oh.
A little bit more information about that in the trivia, but yeah, apparently it's jinxed.
Right. Like Macbeth.
The Scottish play, yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Generally?
Oh yeah, it was good for what it is.
Yeah. Although there are some major questions.
Some logical issues, maybe. Social media?
Get it over with.
At Leap Home Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. We're at The Leap Home on Facebook. TheLeapHome.com has show notes for every episode. And if you're impatient and want to listen 1 week early, you can hear next week's episode already on the Columbo Podcast Productions YouTube channel, where we would encourage you to comment and like and subscribe and set the alerts by pressing that bell button. It really helps us out and helps you out because you get to hear everything as soon as it's available.
That you?
Well, I could ask for reviews as well if you want.
Sure. Apple
Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, IMDb, that sort of place. If you could leave us glowing reviews, we'd appreciate that also. Time for some scares?
Let's crack on. For once, the general creepiness of an episode is not supplied by Sam.
Yes, that's fair to say on this occasion. After the usual intro, we get an extended version of last week's tag.
Do we?
Yeah, because last week we just saw him wake up and say, oh, it's 1879.
Yeah, okay, so explain what happens.
So we get that again. He leaps into this person who's holding an old book about witchcraft and for a moment thinks he's in 1879 because that's when the book was written. He quickly realises that can't be the case and he goes looking for some information. He shouts to see if anyone's nearby but gets no response.
We should say it's a creepily dressed up house. It's got skeletons around and
there's a big black snake.
In a case, yeah.
And he starts to climb the stairs.
Yeah, he passes a door from which he hears a guttural groan.
Ooh.
And then what happens?
Two folk in masks jump out on him, causing him to fall down the stairs and briefly lose consciousness, and we get the credits without an oh boy.
When we return, one of the pranksters, a woman in her 30s I would guess, rushes down to find if Josh is okay, followed by someone else in a devil mask.
That's right. Sam comes to, he says he thinks he is okay, and when the other mask is removed, it's a kid wearing glasses.
Yeah, a geeky young lad called Stevie, who asks if it's okay to go as he still has to peel some eyeball grapes.
Yes. They're setting up for a sort of haunted house event.
Yeah, a spook house they call it. Halloween is a bigger deal in the States, I think. I mean, in the UK, it's catching up slightly. It's a lot more, I suppose, commercial than it was when we were kids.
You don't get these big communal events really so much here, unless it's done by groups that already exist.
Yeah, I mean, these houses I think are fairly common in America. Here, if someone had to have a spook house, it would be in the local newspaper. It's like the type of person who decorates their house for Christmas, like Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation. You know, you get these people who are a little bit over-elaborate.
You see houses around here that look like spook houses, but you probably find when you go in, it's just someone who died 15 years ago and no one's checked on them.
Yeah, very.
Sam tells Stevie he does not need anything else for gopher guts, but he's overruled by this woman, Mary. So Stevie says he'll pick up some more liver and spaghetti. Presumably fresh spaghetti, because dry spaghetti would be no use.
Well, not necessarily fresh, but cooked.
Yeah.
She says that they've got enough pumpkins, but she needs to finish carving them, and goes on to tell him he is sometimes very scary.
She says that's why she can't wait to marry him.
Yeah, and then hisses at him.
They're strange people.
They are strange, yeah.
She's got a sort of almost an English accent, I think.
Well, no, at first I think she's just...
She's putting it on for the sort of gothic style.
No. I think what it is that she is not a great accent actor. She is trying to put on a sort of New England accent, but I don't think she's from there. So it comes across a bit strange. At some points it's a bit Australian.
Yeah.
At first I thought, where's she from? But no, I think it's just meant to be a...
Boston sort of...
Well, well, not Boston, but that neck of the woods, yeah. A bit of Amos Tupper.
Okay. Sam, at this point, catches a brief glimpse of himself in the mirror as this kid, Stevie, screams about the sun burning him as he goes outside. Yeah,
Stevie acts like a bit of an irritant. What does Sam look like this time?
He's a balding, middle-aged guy with a beard.
Yeah, although I think he's probably got a certain style about him. He's not...
To me, he looked like a church organist, which is ironic because the woman is the church organist, I think. Or at least a deacon.
He looks like... Do you know what I've been watching the last couple of days? It's a show called Get a Life, a sitcom.
Okay.
Can't remember the guy's name. He's quite big in the States. But it's Elliot, something Elliot. But it's quite good.
It's not Sam Elliott.
It's not Sam Elliott, no.
Okay. Because this guy doesn't look like Sam Elliott.
No. Yeah, it's from the early 90s and it's got a good soundtrack, a good score. I think R.E.M. and the Bangles and things like that. But I think there are actually some rights problems around that now for syndication, etc. But yeah, anyway, I just discovered that. Wasn't aware of it. Came across my my device and gave it a...
Of all the things to come across.
Yeah, well.
Stevie on his way out declares that one day he is going to write the scariest book ever.
And asks if it's okay to come back around 5 o'clock to get his costume, which Sam confirms is fine. And as he leaves in his car, he shouts out that it's going to be the best haunted house ever.
Yes, and Sam enjoys a quick look at a scarecrow in the garden.
Yeah, it's quite spooky.
It's very creepy.
Yeah. The whole garden's decorated and this causes a distracted Sam to stare at it. It's a bit like, have you seen Return to Oz?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's quite creepy as well, certainly from if you're a kid.
Okay.
One of these things a little bit like It, that if you watch it when you're a kid, you sort of remember it's a bit freaky for some reason, yeah.
We hear Sam thinking to himself that, and yet again, every time this happens, it makes no sense. He once again nonsensically says that leaping is like being a scarecrow.
A head full of stuffing and no idea why he is there, but that's... you do know why you're there. If you're a scarecrow, you're there to scare crows.
The scarecrow's perfectly happy.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the scarecrow who was awarded a Nobel Prize?
Is this a terrible joke?
Yeah.
Right, go for it.
He was outstanding in his field.
Yep. Mary brings him...
Before she does, we see a sign behind Sam.
Well, I'm about to say that. Mary brings him back round and we see a sign behind him.
Yes.
For the... What?
What does it say? Okay, I've got it written down. Coventry Presbyterian Halloween Spook House. Tonight, 8 p.m. to midnight. Ghouls and goblins.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know if you got this in trivia, but I am wondering, especially from what we come to hear later on, Coventry.
As in a coven?
Yeah.
I assumed Coventry was a real place in Maine.
I'm sure, yeah, but
obviously selected that, yeah. I don't have that in the trivia, but yeah.
There you go, yeah. Anyway.
Mary changes the subject to this point. She gets Sam's attention and says she knows he's worrying about how to kill him.
Yeah. Woof. So he's quite shocked, thinks she is referring to Stevie, but soon finds out she's actually talking about a character in a book that he's writing, and he's obviously relieved at this clarity.
Yeah, she suggests that he burns the character at the stake like Alice, what's her name, who used to live here before she moved to Salem.
Yeah, they're back in the house at this point. He follows her through to the kitchen and seems to be looking for some further clarification on the date, even though he saw, not even so much the date, but he's looking for confirmation that he is in his time, not the past, even though he saw the car. He must know roughly when he is.
I'm not sure. I mean, what he says is that he thought the Salem witch trials were in 1692. And Mary says that's true, they were, but it would be great for him to kill this character in 1964, the way that they did back then. So that gives Sam what he needs to know.
And apparently the ghost could haunt people, just like Alice supposedly haunts his house.
Does that make sense? She moved to Salem and was executed. Why would you come back and haunt this house? There's people in Salem that killed her.
Don't know how ghosts work. Can you... Maybe you have to stay in the same state.
Maybe it's what's on our driving licence, just to go back.
And at this point, there is a thumping from upstairs, but it's only who?
Tully.
Who's he?
He's sort of a handyman type.
Who is working on the windows and is meant to be finished by this time. So Sam agrees to go up and talk to him. We find him in the, I think it's called an office, but it's like a study, isn't it? Writing room.
For noting later, this episode's been going for about 7 or 8 minutes now.
Okay.
Since Sam leaps in. Okay, we'll come back to that point.
Will we?
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. So as he gets into this office, he remarks to himself that he's leapt into the Addams family before taking a look around the place, which is full of gothic tat and several of his cheesy horror books. Did you get some of the titles?
I got a couple. Skull Party and I got Demon Dancer.
Well, I went for Skull Party and The Blood Witch.
Ooh.
He inspects the terrible text that has been typed on the...
Are you going for alliteration yourself?
on the typewriter, which is still sitting there, and is startled when he thinks that the black cat on the bookshelf is speaking to him.
A bit like Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yes.
This reminded me of... Sorry, I didn't remember everything. This is the clip from the top of the show about the Eel of Smoke.
Yes.
Sam lifts a cane as well from his church. He's got a weird-looking snake head. The end of it made me think of Ian Bailey. It's a niche reference, I suppose.
It is. It's a podcast, yeah. What's it called?
West Cork.
West Cork, yeah.
Worth listening.
It is.
Anyhow, we heard in the clip the bit about the evil from the beginning of time, and Sam says this out loud as we heard and gets this response from the cat.
But it's actually just Tully.
Yes, he's at that window, he's working on it, and he says that Sam should leave the evil well alone.
Yeah, I think he actually... Did he not say that those who dance with the devil are bound to get scorched?
He does. Possibly them that dance, I don't know.
Now, when Sam looks down, what does he see?
Goat.
Yeah, and Tully continues his warning and references Alice, who ended up burned at the stake. Unfortunately, at this point, what happens?
There's an unintentionally comic moment as the goat murders him.
Yeah. It pulls away the ladder from the bottom, and Tully falls to his death in the shape of a swastika.
That's really unfortunate, isn't it?
So outside, Sam rushes to him, confirms the worst, just before a shocked Mary joins him. And we cut to a little later as Tully is being carted off, and Sam is explaining to the local match-chewing sheriff what happened.
My favourite exchange of the episode here.
Go for it.
So the sheriff's a bit sceptical about this goat story, and he says to Sam, "Can you describe it?" And Sam says, "It was a goat."
However, neither the cop or Mary are aware of the existence of any goat on this land, and so the newly arrived Al suggests that it may have been someone else.
Well, I think Al suggests it might have been Sam. Well, first of all, he suggests it might have been somebody else's goat. And then when they shoot that down by saying the next farm's 20 miles away, he says to Sam, maybe you did it by accident.
Yeah, I don't think Sam likes that inference.
Yeah, it's not something he's pleased with at all, but he insists it was an accident, and Al and Mary and the sheriff all seem to acknowledge that. Sam's
response makes him sound guilty.
Oh, very much.
The sheriff, he then agrees to go inside to get Mary's statement, and Sam suggests cancelling the spook house. I mean, it shouldn't really be a suggestion.
It should just be cancelled.
Someone's died.
The sheriff's really weird here.
Why?
He says it will disappoint a lot of people, and the truth of the times is some people die and the rest go on.
Yeah, what's he talking about? That's not...
Yeah, a guy did die here, but we're not dead, so let's have a party.
Crazy. They head inside, and a frustrated Sam turns to Al, claiming he could have changed things if he'd a heads up.
He could have, but Al says not to blame him or Ziggy because they knew nothing about this.
And then tells him that it is the 31st of October 1964, and he's a second-rate H.P. Lovecraft.
Called Joshua Ray.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Coventry, Maine, and is engaged to Mary, the church organist, as I said, and also a part-time research assistant for his novels.
Unfortunately, she is found strangled at midnight in the spook house.
So that's her dilemma.
We're now inside, where Sam tries to get more information on what is going on.
Ziggy doesn't think that Joshua Ray killed her, does he?
No. That is probably not.
Probably?
Yeah, well, you were the logical suspect, but there was never enough evidence to justify your arrest.
Look, if I leap into a murderer's life, then I, Sam Beckett, I'm not going to kill an innocent person. So then I've accomplished what I'm here for, and I should leap, right?
Right, unless she wasn't innocent.
This is getting too weird, Al. I don't understand why Ziggy didn't pick up on Tully's death. I mean, he should have spotted that.
Well, Ziggy swears he didn't have a clue. It just kind of happened.
Al, somebody made a mistake and a man is dead.
Do you know what kind of snake that is?
What?
That's a black mamba. That's one of the deadliest snakes.
Al, I want you to
world.
run a check on Ziggy. I don't want to miss anything else, okay?
I thought I'd close the window.
Thanks, Mary.
So Mary walks past him on the stairs to go for the phone.
Yeah, the sheriff pops his head round the corner and asks if he should answer it, and gets told, no, it's our phone.
But she pauses when she passes Al as if she can detect him or something.
Yes, that's not the last time that happened.
No, and Al notices this himself. Back in the study, he tells Sam it's more of a crypt than an office. There's a black cat, or the black cat, jumps on the table, and Sam notes that the page he'd looked at earlier in the typewriter has now been expanded upon with a paragraph describing how Tully died.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the story from before, but it's been added in. Al reckons that there's someone wandering around with a sick sense of humour.
And as he talks, we see the cop drive off, and Al hints at maybe Mary is to blame as she shouts up that it was Dorothy on the phone and she's going to be dropping off some candles, but
Candlesticks.
Candlesticks, sorry, yeah. But hasn't been told about Tully as she thinks it's a thing that you should do face to face, which probably.
Yeah, Sam agrees that that's fair enough. Al says he's going to get Ziggy onto this now, but to keep an eye on you-know-who. But as Sam rightly points out, if his purpose here is to stop Mary being killed, she can't be the killer.
Yeah. On the staircase, Al tells Sam that Dorothy is the town gossip.
Yeah, he also says that the story didn't type itself, and then we skip ahead to a conversation with Dorothy.
Yeah, she's been told the news, and it mentions that she had said to the stubborn Tully that he was too old for being a handyman, and reminds them both of incidents where he made a mess of things for them.
He tried to install their dishwasher. I had to check they had dishwashers in the 60s, apparently, yeah.
Quite rudimentary, I'd have thought. A bit like Doc Brown's fridge. And
it's just a small guy in a cupboard. But apparently, at this point, Mary says, oh yeah, I wanted to kill him for that. That's not the best thing to be saying.
It's not, and Sam is a bit, taken aback by that turn of phrase. I think maybe he just thinks it's not the most appropriate thing to be saying. I don't think he believes that revealed anything.
No. Dorothy asks Sam for help bringing in these heavy silver candlesticks, but Mary insists on doing it herself. And I think we're kind of being set up to think we shouldn't be too sure about Mary.
Well, at this point, I think that Mary and Dorothy are in this together a bit like in Psycho 2. You've not seen Psycho 2, have you?
I've not seen Psycho 1.
I prefer Psycho 2.
How many are there? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I think there's 4, plus obviously the Bates Hotel, and there's other spin-offs. But yeah, in Psycho 2, it was mother and daughter plotting against Norman. And I thought that's what's going to happen here. But we quickly find out that's not the case.
No, well, after she goes, Dorothy has a chat with Sam about how special a man he is, and Sam makes the point that you don't get a girl like Mary without making enemies.
Well, what? I mean, I'm not sure. What?
I don't know, but Dorothy says, the sheriff was upset about it, so that sets up another suspect.
But she also thinks that the best man won out, and then Mary returns and Dorothy goes to get some cider from the kitchen. Yeah,
now, surely that couldn't have been predicted. Mary says she'll get it and Dorothy insists.
Yeah.
Why would you expect Dorothy to... Well, unless that's just what Dorothy's like, I suppose.
And at this point, Al returns with good news and is again detected by Mary.
Mary then says something a bit strange about the death of Tully.
Very strange. Okay, she doesn't want to cancel the Spook House because...
it was just an accident.
That's not the point. It's not like we only cancel events at Spook Houses if there's been murder.
Yeah.
There's been someone local who's died in a tragic accident. Cancel
Everyone will know, yeah.
Cancel it, yeah.
It's a church event. He was a church deacon, we find out later on.
Yeah. However, at this point, they're interrupted by what?
A scream. A horrific scream from the kitchen.
And when they run through, they find Dorothy on her back and dead.
Yes, Sam sees a matchstick on the floor. When he goes to pick it up, the snake's there and it strikes at him.
Yeah, it's under the sort of cupboard, and Sam has to chase it out of the room with a broom and down a drain or I don't know.
It goes through a grate in the living room. Al says he saw it go. Mm-hmm. Sam's furious with Al now.
He's in a foul mood and demands that he find out who put the black mamba in the kitchen, throws down his broom and he walks back through to Mary.
He says as well to check on the sheriff.
Yes. We're in the car later and we see Sam and Mary return from the sheriff office.
Yeah, they're driving a red Plymouth.
A Christine. I know they.
Well, we'll come back to that as well. I think they seem to have been questioned by the police, and Mary's feeling a bit nauseous.
Oh, she's, I suppose, distraught by the two bizarre deaths on the same day. And I'm saying, surely she'll cancel this nonsense now.
You would think.
But no. We're in the house and he tells her to put on some tea and he will try and find something for her stomach.
And Al, at this point, comes to talk to Sam and tells him there's a logical explanation that he just won't accept.
Well, he refuses to accept that Mary has anything to do with these deaths. And we're up in the office where Al makes the point that, as a scientist, he should explore all options, but Sam's adamant and asks if she taught the goat to pull out the rag from the ladder.
Yeah, and Al says that perhaps she pushed it from further down out a lower window, but Sam says, I saw the goat.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, Al made that the good point. We've made it before that Sam's a scientist. So there should be no mumbo-jumbo in his mind. Scientist doesn't mean consider every piece of nonsense.
No, just rational things.
Yeah. Al presses on and claims that she could have killed Dorothy by putting the snake on the counter.
Yes. But Sam wants to know more about Sheriff Masters.
Well, he wants to change the subject because he can't, or doesn't agree with it. Yeah, he asks what he found out about him, but is told that he checks out fine, and I think Al thinks there's something kinky going on, which is obviously a different use of the word that we have nowadays.
Well, indeed. Sam says Mary would have to be some kind of demented psychopath to have done this, and he doesn't accept it.
No, and at the same time we see Mary, she's stealthily sort of walking, creeping up.
Suspiciously,
so
maybe the word.
Yeah. She can overhear what's going on here.
Yes. But before she does anything about that, Sam is concerned to find Dorothy's death narrated on the typewriter, just like Tully's had been.
Sam, however, does falter in his defence of Mary when he recalls that she'd been in the kitchen carving pumpkins before their guest arrived, so she would have had the
opportunity, yes,
to plant the snake, as it were. And this conversation, understandably, does not go down well with his wife-to-be.
Carving pumpkins.
Who are you talking to?
No, and I'm just trying to think up some dialogue for my book.
You called me a demented psychopath.
No, I didn't.
Maybe she's schizophrenic. Maybe she forgot about grabbing the snake and typing this.
Mary, a lot of strange things have been happening around here, and they're sort of, well, they're unexplainable.
You think I'm the explanation? You think I killed Tully?
No. Yes.
And Dorothy?
No.
Yes.
How could you think that of me? If you don't want to get married, why don't you just come right out and say it, instead of hiding behind some insane accusation that I committed murder? How do I know it wasn't you?
Mary,
Because you're the one who did it.
I'm just trying to eliminate all the possibilities. I really don't think
Yes, you do. You're calling me a murderer.
Sam, I don't like things that fly around without wings.
Mary, I don't know what you think you're doing, but it's not funny.
I didn't do anything.
She's a witch.
It didn't fly across the room by itself.
She's just like, what's her name? The one that used to live here?
I'm telling you, I didn't.
Uh-oh. Sam, this is like The Exorcist. She's possessed.
She's having a seizure, Al. She's an epileptic.
What about the skull?
Forget about the damn skull. We gotta get her to a hospital.
If we don't get her there quick, she could die.
So what we heard there was the skull flying across the...
Before it flies across the room, it starts rattling on the shelf. And then, yes, launches itself at Sam, and he accuses Mary of having done it.
Yeah, quite an intense scene.
Yeah.
For the show. Bear in mind, it's probably quite a family-orientated show. It's not...
That's true. We did see Viet Cong folk getting shot up a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Sam does take Mary to the hospital, where we now find her in a bed with Al saying that Ziggy never predicted this.
Yeah, Sam's dismissive of Ziggy not being able to ID epilepsy, and then goes full-on crazy by claiming that telekinesis is real and that epilepsy could cause it. What are you talking about?
Epilepsy, yes. Epilepsy is crossed wires that trigger a telekinetic reaction.
Why is he talking garbage? He knows it doesn't exist.
Is he testing Al, or is he genuinely believing this? I think this is just the only conclusion he's been able to come up with, because he can't understand what's happened.
As a scientist, as Al pointed out there, you can't be leaping to telekinesis.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, no, I don't know, but obviously he's at a loss otherwise.
But rather than call out this BS, Al simply points out that it wouldn't explain Tolly or Dorothy. And Sam responds that you don't kill someone without a motive, causing Al to quip unless you're a psychopath.
Mm. He now suggests the only way they can find out more is to go to Mary's home at 966 Salem Avenue.
Oh.
That's
Surprised it wasn't 666 Salem Avenue.
Well, it looks like that when they go in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because the 9 swings round.
Indeed.
As we now see.
Yeah, they arrive at the address, which is also dressed up in Halloween decor, and which for some reason is unlocked.
Did Sam not have the key? I think you see Sam unlocking it, then stepping back and saying women in holograms first.
Are you sure?
I think so. It doesn't really matter too much, I suppose.
That doesn't really matter. It just annoys me.
The old days, folk just trusted their neighbours.
Yeah. He reluctantly follows, and inside there are lots of weird items like masks and other spooky paraphernalia.
Yeah. Sam reckons it could be research stuff for his novels.
Although Al thinks it makes his point that she's evil or a witch.
Well, they have a long conversation about whether she's a suspect or a victim and why Sam hasn't leaped, until Sam notices a church bulletin on the table.
And what information does that provide?
It says that the 3 members of the church board of deacons are Tully, Dorothy, and Mary.
And so Sam asks, who would want to kill a board of deacons?
Unknown to Sam, the sheriff has arrived, and he answers this question with the suggestion that it's maybe a schizophrenic horror novelist. They throw the word schizophrenic around quite a lot in this episode. I don't think they know what it means.
Well, maybe back in the 60s they didn't know, or even the 90s.
Maybe.
But also this whole thing about the deacons, actually just by coincidence.
It could be, but it's a very odd coincidence.
What, 2 people from a church have died?
2 out of the 3 members of the board, and the other ones had a seizure. That said, they were all in close proximity to one another.
Mm.
Anyhow, Sam says that Mary sent him to pick some stuff up, but the sheriff has already got an answer for that one.
What's that?
He's just been to the hospital and she's still not recovered consciousness.
Yeah. Now also, he goes to take the bulletin from Sam, and at this point, what happens?
Well, Sam sees a tattoo on the sheriff's wrist.
Yeah. Partially covered, so he's not entirely sure what it is.
Yes. He asks him about it. Although before he does that, he says that Mary sent him before she had the episode.
That's
yeah.
Yeah, he's not very convincing with that.
Yeah, but then he asks about the tattoo, and the sheriff confesses that he's a warlock and he has to kill everyone who was about to expose him.
Yeah, he says the sign is of his coven.
Yes, as in Coventry. Yes. And then he covers that up with a more believable story about being in the Navy and having got drunk and almost getting an Air Force tattoo, which triggers Al a little bit as a military man himself.
Yeah. He turns the tables at this point and asks what the real story is for him being there, and Sam says that it's the same as his reason, murder.
Yes, but the sheriff wants to know whether he's discovering clues or eliminating them.
And at this point, Sam notices the match which she's been chewing on.
Yeah, a bit like the one that they saw in the kitchen.
Yeah. But he is calmly told that there's a gas stove in the kitchen and matches are required to light it. It does make sense, yeah.
I think during this that the sheriff seems to react when Al speaks, but he doesn't quite know what's happened.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of reaction, but not a I heard that sort of thing. We jump ahead to the hospital where we get a good shot of a creepy looking shadow approaching Mary's bed.
Yeah, I've noticed here it's a little bit like Halloween 2. You've not seen Halloween 2, have you?
No, or Halloween. I might have seen Halloween actually. What's the one where he hides in a cupboard?
That's Halloween, the first one, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay. Halloween 2 is the second best Halloween after Halloween 3.
Okay. They're still making them.
Yeah. So we see these legs approach. Obviously, it's quite sinister, and you're wondering if this is the murderer coming to see off Mary.
Yeah, but Sam flicks a light on and it's him with flowers.
And he is now able to speak to his now conscious fiancée.
I think I owe you an apology.
How you feeling?
Nothing a 6-month honeymoon in the Bahamas couldn't cure.
We'll see what we can do about that. Here. Mary, is there anybody in town that you know that might want to hurt you?
Hurt as in dead?
Yeah.
No?
2 deacons are dead. I don't want there to be 3.
Neither do I. You know, somehow, you seem more decisive, more confident.
Well, believe me, the last thing I am is confident. You go back to sleep, okay? And, I'll be back to check on you later.
Promise.
Cross my heart and hope. To Limbo. The Bahamas.
Oh, goody.
Sam then finds himself on the road, thinking to himself that while things do always happen for a reason, he can't find one here. He does suspect the sheriff, though.
Yeah, and time is running out before Mary is to be killed, perhaps by someone, yes, with a badge. And he's then startled to see what?
Headlights in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, been turned on this quiet road. That's quite a nice creepy effect as well.
Yeah, and then one of my actual real-life nightmares comes true for him. He's in the car and the cat shows up. Yeah, it's not in a box. It's loose.
It's a stereotypical horror cat jump scare.
Yes, it's good, but I do have this dream that my cats get out of the house and I've got them in the car and I can't get hold of them.
Okay.
I should say they're house cats. Okay. But anyway, Sam eventually takes a turning and the car behind doesn't follow him, so there was nothing.
Apparently, yes. However, this relief is brief.
Yes, he sees the goat again and has to swerve around it before the scarecrow from his front garden runs out at him.
Oh. However, this imbecile is actually Stevie.
Yeah, but he's caused Sam to crash.
Yeah, so he rushes over to the crash site and pulls out Sam, who, as he explains that his car had broken down and he was trying to flag down a lift. What, wearing your pumpkin head?
Yeah.
Idiot.
I know. Sam says he was avoiding the goat, and then the cat jumped in his face, and then the car had a mind of its own, like in Christine. And Stevie doesn't get that reference.
Of course not.
It's not been written yet.
No.
But he didn't see a goat, and he tells Sam he doesn't have a cat.
Yeah, this angers Sam, and he gets more irritated when he goes over to the car and finds out that it is in fact empty.
Yeah, there's no cat there.
Back at the house.
Skip ahead a wee bit, and we see the full moon disappear behind some clouds.
Sam is reading through the book on witchcraft and comes to a page with an image of a 666 on it and gets a fright from Al, who repeats Tully's warning about those who dance with the devil.
He reminds Sam that he's there to save Mary, but Sam thinks the only possible culprit is the sheriff.
Yeah, he says no one else could have done it.
But Al suggests maybe the Boogieman did it.
Is that Mark Bolan? He likes to boogie.
Yeah, everybody does.
Mm-hmm. Or Yes Sir, I Can Boogie. Who was that?
Oh, that was a Spanish group. One of them died recently. Scotland fans have adopted that one.
Right, okay. Anyway.
Sam is convinced that he's got his man, so he calls the sheriff's office. And rather bizarrely, they give out a lot more information than you would expect.
What did they find out?
They say that the sheriff's been missing for the last half hour.
Yeah, they're also looking for him. So in a panic, he calls the hospital.
Yes, he asks for Mary, but is told that she's now outside and the sheriff is on his way to pick her up.
So he tells the nurse to stop her going with him and that he is on his way. And Al centres himself on Mary as a furious Sam barks at him that he knew it was the cop. It's like, I told you so.
Oh.
We're on the road.
Yes, Sam is set off. Obviously his car was fine after that crash.
Mm-hmm.
But on his way he sees the sheriff's car crash on the roadside with a hole in the windscreen and the sheriff dead behind the wheel.
This confused me because at first I thought, yeah, it's the sheriff. But then later on, when we see the sheriff's dead, I thought, is it another sheriff who's been killed by the bad sheriff?
This is the sheriff from before.
Yeah.
Sam yells and, I don't even know what the emotion he would be feeling here is. Confusion and distress.
Clearly, yeah. He then sees the goat in the headlights and purposefully gets out to prove its existence.
But it's not there.
No, by the time he gets round to the front of the car, there is no sign of it. He must be thinking that he's starting to lose it himself.
He must be. And he heads back to the house where he doesn't seem that surprised to see the sheriff's car parked outside.
We should say at least it's been cancelled.
Yeah, there is a cancelled banner across the spookhouse. See.
Yeah, I'm saying this confused me. So the sheriff's truck's parked outside and he thinks that, unlike his childhood, there are no tricks or treats on this Halloween, only death. But I mean, that's quite a big trick, isn't it?
Yeah. Stevie's waiting outside the house and Sam asks if the sheriff is inside with Mary. So Sam's figured this out ahead of us.
Weird Stevie.
He is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he says yes, they just arrived. So Sam sends him away and won't listen to his idea for a new book.
Sam steels himself and slowly enters and whispers for Mary. She appears and is quite calm until Sam tells her that the cop is dead.
She says, no, he's not. He's in the kitchen.
And at this, he appears and they face off. Sam makes a grab for his arm, But what happens is
He changes into Al and makes a goat noise.
yeah, there's a red glow, and instead, yeah, we see Al with a devilish grin on his face, and yeah, that.
Are we meant to find goats scarier than we do? Would that change how
Well,
we...
goats are
I know they are associated with
yeah.
the devil and whatever else, but they're not scary.
No, not really, no.
So, like, when Al makes the goat noise, are we meant to be scared, or is that meant to be funny?
Well, I suppose people making those noises are a bit
It's not as funny as
unsettling.
when goats make human noises. Have you seen those videos?
yeah. No.
They're superb. You need to look them up on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll certainly do that.
Screaming goats.
Okay.
Have you ever played the game Goat Simulator?
Sam and Mary make a run for the door, but it locks as if by magic, and so they have to turn and face the now demonic-looking hologram, who won't confirm if the lock trick was advanced telekinesis, but does have a view on Mary being in danger.
She is now.
And Tully and the others?
The fun part was that it was a pattern that seemed to add up, but it didn't.
But it did. You quoted Tully's line to me about them who dance with the devil. I never told you that. And you never walked through anything in this leap, or used the imaging chamber door. And when we were upstairs, and you left to find Mary, you disappeared without using your handling to Ziggy. But most important, you were the only other person around when Dorothy and Tully died.
Personally, my favorite part was watching your face when you read the messages in the typewriter. That was priceless. You know how this story's going to end, don't you?
I know how you want it to.
Yes, I believe you do. Sam, I'm sorry I'm late, but something was goofing Ziggy all up and... Oh, Sam, this is not good.
No, it isn't.
Oh, Sam, you better get out of here, quick.
We can't, Hal. He's locked us in. He's already killed 3 people, and he intends to kill us.
Something long overdue. Sam, Ziggy says that there's definitely something there. It's more than I can say for you.
Who are you?
Yin and yang, good and bad, God,
The devil.
in the flesh, so to speak.
Dean Stockwell must have had fun, I think, in this episode.
Yeah, he's chewing up the scenery here.
Yeah.
He tells Sam that he wants to put an end to his meddling, and nobody gave him the right to go around changing things that he had put wrong in the first place.
I think he's got a good point here. We've discussed this before, and we're seeing here how much trouble you get into if you mess around with these.
He's unbalancing things.
He is, yeah. Sam offers that he's just trying to get home, and the devil laughs maniacally that he is not going to make it before grabbing him by the throat.
Yeah, Al suggests reciprocating, and Sam eventually does, but not very convincingly.
Well, it's this thing. Al says if Sam can touch him, he can hurt him. So what we're suggesting now that just Sam can just beat up the devil?
Punch him.
Like, wait.
As Sam grabs the devil by the throat,
Yeah, things get more surreal.
yeah, the clock chimes and the piano starts playing itself, and the two of them start spinning. There's a good shot of them spinning. I
Yeah,
like that.
that was good. The devil changes then from Al to Tully to Dorothy and the sheriff, and then,
The goat.
yes, before finally to Mary as the clock strikes midnight with Sam's hands around her neck.
Things start to shatter, and this is what Sam was warned about. But Al is shouting for him, and Sam lets go.
Yes, and falls to the floor, but finds himself being looked over by Mary and Stevie just as he was when he fell down the stairs at the start of his leap.
Al is there and says he lost him for a couple of minutes, but Sam is quick to put his hand through Al to prove that he's actually a hologram.
Yes.
He tells Al that for a while there were 2 of them, and one of them was trying to kill him, which shocks Mary. She also doesn't know he's talking to Al.
But Stevie thinks it's a cool idea.
Yes. Al says he must have been dreaming and explains who he is and tells him he's here to save somebody called Tully.
And so Sam sprints up the stairs just in time to grab the falling handyman, and they drag him to safety, which amazes Al.
Yeah, because the first time around it was 7 or 8 minutes in before Tully fell. as we discussed.
Right, yeah.
So why is Sam sprinting up to save him at this exact second?
I know, but we don't know how long Sam was unconscious for there. So maybe when we came back in, he'd been unconscious for the 6 or 7 minutes.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Anyhow, yes. Al is, as you say, astonished to find that Sam knew what was going on before it happened and before he was told.
And when the others leave, Sam mentions the goat to Al. But when they look down, there is no sign of the beast.
A wee bit later on, Sam is telling Mary that he remembers her getting mad and making a skull fly across the room at him, but at least it wasn't knives.
Yes. And then we see Stevie.
He thinks that's a great idea.
Yeah, he gets a lift from his mom. Who's she?
That's Mrs. King. She's got a St. Bernard called Cujo in the back of her car.
It does indeed. And at this point, Sam and Al realise who it is as they watch him greet the dog. And Sam realises he's given him the idea for Christine.
Amongst others.
Before he leaps.
Yes, he becomes a woman on a bus.
Well, he's a woman, I think more of a girl, a young girl as well, I think.
Possibly. Another woman chaps the window and says she wishes she could go with him, but she has the twins to look after. It's quite a long tag this week. It
was, yeah. She's got a bag of goodies, so he has to go off the bus, and we see him dressed in this quite childlike
it's a skirt with a poodle on it.
Yes. And he finds out that he is on her way.
He's on his way.
He's on his way to a beauty contest.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, the woman who I assume is the mother.
Yeah.
Puts earrings and a tiara on him and says it wouldn't do for him to go to the biggest beauty contest without his crown and sash, which says Miss Sugarbelle.
Yeah. We'll discuss that next week, obviously.
We will. That's the end. There's two main theories for what we just saw.
Right.
First one is it was a dream.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Second one is God reset the leap when it all went wrong.
I'm going with dream.
The writer of the episode has said that the events actually happened, if that helps.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
I think what it proves is that Quantum Leap doesn't take place in our universe.
It can't, no.
It takes place in a universe where there's a god and a devil. And time can change in this way.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you believe in God, he's not sending people moving through time and redoing events.
Well...
even in the Bible.
Yeah.
There's no time travel in the Bible.
You can tell us in the trivia when this was first broadcast, but I'm assuming they would have put it out around about the...
April. No, 26th of October, 1990.
Good. Yeah, it would be a good special episode or a good episode for the time. It was fun. I liked the sort of whole murder mystery feel to it. I thought some of the over-the-top performances were nice.
Dean Stockwell did really well in that bit at the end, but also throughout the episode acting subtly different from how Al normally would. It was quite good.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this episode before. Don't remember anything about it. So I suppose if you watch it back again for a second time, you might pick up on some things.
Yeah, I guess. So did you just think it was normal Al?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You weren't suspicious of the fact he kept accusing folk of missing things?
Not really, no. No. I was going for the more obvious ones, yeah. It was just the Dorothy or Mary.
Should we get into the trivia? You got any more comments?
No, that was
it's a special one. I think you just,
I think, yeah. I mean, I think if we're being fair, that's what we can say. It was made for Halloween.
Almost like a Treehouse of Horrors.
Yes, exactly. Not one that necessarily consider as part of the of canon that you have to take anything from. It's a standalone episode.
On the other hand, maybe we do take as canon now that the devil is set against Sam, and we'll try to stop him if we can.
Okay. Trivia.
Directed by Joe Napolitano, 4th of his 12. He started off with Pool All Blues. So go back in season 2, listen to the podcast for that if you want to hear more about him. Chris Rupenthal wrote the story, same as last week, 5th of 10 for him. His first one was Good Morning Peoria, so go back and listen to that one for more about him. He appeared as Sam's reflection in this episode. Mary was played by Valerie Mahaffey. This is her only Quantum Leap. She's also been in lots of things like Desperate Housewives, Young Sheldon, ER. She got an Emmy for Northern Exposure, and she's still acting. She's 69 years old. The sheriff was played by Paul Link, second of 2 Quantum Leaps for him. You remember him from Play It Again Seymour?
Yes.
End of season 1. Go back to that episode if you want to hear more about him on that podcast. Dorothy was very briefly played by Fran Ryan. You obviously recognised her.
Did I? Oh, yeah.
Starsky and Hutch, Murder, She Wrote, Rocky 2, and a Columbo.
Columbo, what one was she?
She was Woman at Airport, uncredited in Dagger of the Mind.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
She died in 2000. She was 83. Stevie was played by David Kriegel. This was his only quantum leap. He went on to appear in Speed, Murder, She Wrote, Charmed, a bunch of other things. His last screen credit was in 2005. He retired at that point at the age of 37. He now runs a children's dance studio with his wife in Los Angeles. He's 54 years old. Donald Houghton played Tully. This was his only quantum leap. He was also in Dances with Wolves, The Bodyguard, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Cheers, amongst others. He was 66 when he died in 1999. I touched on at the start that fans of the show refer to this episode as the Halloween episode, which is linked to many inexplicable occurrences surrounding this particular show, including failed recordings. As we've had this evening, multiple failures of our equipment, so we can add this to the list if you want, because no joke, this happened to us this evening. Website failures. In one extreme case, a man who went on the Quantum Leap forums and took the mickey out of folk for this lost his job.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. We should say, however, not to add too many fuel to the fire, that last week I did point out that the cable, the power cable on our recording device was starting to fray a little bit, and I suspected that at any time it was going to go, so not entirely unexpected.
Yeah, well this is the week it went. It could have been any episode. Stephen King apparently gave permission for his name to be used in the episode, and there's, as we've talked about, a number of references to his stories. There's the flying knives I can carry, although that only happens in the movie, not in the book. The Red Plymouth Fury, like in Christine, you've got the St. Bernard's dog, Cujo. Dean Stockwell actually appeared in a movie adaptation of King's The Langoliers. This is the third time that Sam's leapt into 1964, previously Blind Faith and Jimmy. The events of Jimmy actually are just a fortnight before this episode. In terms of things that we learned, Sam liked Halloween as a kid.
It was his favourite holiday, and he also believed in telekinesis.
And the devil set against him.
Yeah.
In respect of on this date, you got the top of the pops for us?
Well, before that, I have a good birth.
Yeah, I think I might have this on you.
Marco van Basten.
Yes, one of my favourite footballers.
Yeah, one of the best strikers of all time. Arguably, just as a pure finisher.
Yeah,
arguably
career ruined by Italian defenders diving into the back of his heels.
I think he was finished by about 27.
Yeah, he just kept getting his Achilles ripped by people slide tackling him from behind.
I remember hearing at the time that a doctor who operated, surgeon, said they had the ankle of a 70-year-old man.
Yeah. He was part of the incredible AC Milan team of the turn of the 80s into the 90s.
And everyone remembers the fantastic, one of the best finishes, the volley, which was unbelievable.
Famously linked up with Ruud Gullit and Frank Rijkaard for Club and Country.
Yes. Anyway.
Also born that day, and it's a big connection. The Boogieman.
Marty Wright.
Yes, the Boogieman. Although he didn't become famous until after the year 2000, so there can't really be any connection with this episode.
No.
That's a good one, though. It fits in nicely.
Yeah.
Although maybe that's why he chose that name. If he was born on Halloween.
Possibly, yeah. Theodore Freeman.
Yes,
he was 34 when he died. He's an American astronaut.
First astronaut to die.
Was it? Yeah, okay. And the Gemini, he was in the training scheme for the Gemini program and was killed in a collision, shouldn't laugh, with a goose that smashed through the cockpit of his jet.
He ejected in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
unfortunate. You want your cockpit to be pointing up when you eject.
But for the heroic ways or, the ways you could go in that line of work.
A goose strike.
Yeah. A little bit like...
the goat pulling the ladder down? No,
Michael Schumacher. I mean, of all the races, and you think to yourself, if you're going to end up in the state he's in, you think you'd be doing that in a
race car.
In a race car, but no, a little bit
over.
In a set of skis, yeah. Anyway.
You got any top of the pops for us?
Yes, I do have. Number one in the US was the Supremes with Baby Love. Okay. And in the UK, Always Something There to Remind Me by Sandy Shaw. What's she famous for?
Being a puppet on a string.
Yes, but also performing without shoes.
Okay. That's why she seemed to be short.
Yeah.
Next week, we've got Miss Deep South, where Sam has to protect the moral integrity of a fellow beauty pageant contestant. This... it sounds terrible.
This is going to be very... okay.
Yeah, we'll get into it next week, and we'll see you there in 1958.
Until then,
cheerio.
Bye-bye.